So hello, everyone. Thanks so much for coming to the Best Starts for Kids Capital Program info session. This is the first info session of two, one today and then one on May 4th. My name is Katerina Ratajczak, and I am the Best Starts for Kids Capital Program Manager, and really happy to be here together today. A couple notes on logistics. Like I just mentioned, this will be recorded. To ask questions during the meeting, go ahead and add them to the chat box or raise your virtual hand during the Q&A session, which will be at the end of this presentation. So we'll be covering a few topics in this hour session. First, I'll give a little bit of context on Best Starts overall, and then we'll talk some more about what Best Starts Capital is, as it is a new program. Then I'll give an overview, an explanation on the RFP that is currently open, how you can apply, and we will close out with a Q&A session. So to orient ourselves, Best Starts Capital is part of the larger Best Starts for Kids levy. Best Starts for Kids is guided by 4 words, and those are happy, healthy, safe, and thriving. We want to see babies born healthy, kids thrive, and young people grow up to be happy, healthy, and successful adults. So what is Best Starts Capital? It is a new program under the renewal of Best Starts for Kids levy, BSK 2.0. And this will be the first year that we are funding projects, 2023. We'll be providing contracts for renovation and new construction of facilities that serve low-income children and BIPOC communities. And these facilities will include an array. It will be recreational, early learning, childcare facilities, community centers, and housing. And Best Starts Capital is guided by the Best Starts for Kids implementation plan, which was approved by King County Council in November 2021, and was also informed by extensive community input. There are 4 overarching priorities that guide the work of Best Starts Capital, as well as focus areas, which include providing culturally responsive youth programming to low-income and BIPOC communities, making sure that the facilities that we fund are geographically dispersed, and also focusing on funding facilities that are multi-use, intergenerational, located in rural or low-income areas, and then also close to transportation. And I'll get into this a little bit more as the presentation goes on, but the RFP itself helps to define all of these priorities. So we do have a glossary that will outline what multi-use, intergenerational, so on and so forth means in the context of this program. So the purpose of the RFP that is currently open is to fund renovations and repairs to existing multi-use community centers, early learning centers, childcare, or recreational facilities, specifically to address critical health and safety issues. And in the context of the Best Starts for Kids implementation plan, that is the second priority. Overall, we'll be providing $4.7 million in funding. The application will be due on May 26th by 2 p.m. And the limit for requests will be up to $500K. Right now, we're anticipating awarding between 8 and 12 projects. And to paint a little bit of a bigger picture on timeline, with the caveat that dates are subject to change, the RFP was released on the 14th of April, so it's been open for about a week and a half. The first info session is today, and we'll have another one on May 4th. And the final day to initiate requests for technical assistance is May 19th, which will give you about a week, which will give our technical assistance folks about a week before the close date of May 26th. Following that, we will have a review period, which is projected to last between June 9th and June 23rd, though that may extend depending on the amount of applications we get. And then we anticipate notifying selected and non-selected applicants in summer, in July or August. So to get into the nitty gritty, I just want to acknowledge that the next few slides are quite dense, but I do also want to note that the full RFP document and the attachments in the Library of Zoom grants will provide all of these relevant definitions for you again and in writing, but we can get into it. So what is a critical health and safety repair? So we have a definition of critical health and safety repairs for our program, and those are renovations and repairs that include the following. So eliminating or reducing hazards. So that's lead, mold, PCBs, other harmful substances. Repairing or replacing roofs, walls, and floors that are structurally unsound. Improving accessibility per ADA. Repairing or replacing ventilation or heating systems. And so improvements to HVAC systems, air barrier, heating and ventilation. That also includes foundational repairs, so repairing sinking or cracks in a foundation of a facility, improving other systems such as plumbing, fire, mechanical, gas, or electrical systems, ensuring that building operations are up to code, replacing or installing additional energy conservation measures, so thinking about improving windows, insulation, and then lastly, repairing gutters and or drainage to prevent moisture damage and mold issues, as so often are a problem in our area. And there is a list of minimum qualifications that you will need in order to apply for this funding, to be considered for this funding. So the first is that you do have a need for a critical health and safety renovation or repair as per the definition provided in the last slide, and then in the RFP document glossary itself. In order to qualify, you will also need to be a community center, early learning center, childcare, or recreational facility. So we won't be considering other project types. You cannot request more than $500,000, and we will only be considering rehab or renovation projects. Also, in order to be considered, the site of the project has to be owned or leased by the applicant organization. And if it's leased, we will need owner support of proposed renovations. There's also several different types of organizations that can apply. It's quite broad and reaching, but it must be serving King County. And then we also want to focus on organizations that are serving low-income children, youth and families, and specifically children, youth, and families that are BIPOC in rural areas or in areas without physical access to similar facilities. We'll also be prioritizing applicants who host culturally responsive programming or permanent or low and cost-free programming for low-income households. And then beyond that, we do have desired qualifications. So those include projects that are multi-use, intergenerational, close to transportation, or have outdoor covered space, which is in alignment with prioritization in our implementation plan. Another desired qualification is that the applicant can assemble a design, architecture, engineering, and or contractor team and manage a construction project. So that would also include having financial systems that can track income and expenditures, the ability to report performance measures. And then we also have the desired qualification of applicants that are leveraging other capital investments, including the county PASTA funds, which are within my department as well. Beyond that, we do have some ineligible activities. So to start, non-construction materials and equipment will not be considered for this funding. So those are things like computers, toys, play equipment. We'll also not be funding retroactive funding, so payment for goods or work that have already been delivered or performed in the past. We won't be covering transportation or travel, staffing costs or salaries, emergency funding, or mortgage or utility bills as well. So who should apply? We encourage nonprofits, community-based organizations, tribes, for-profit organizations, and public agencies that serve communities in King County, organizations that meet minimum qualifications. And we really do encourage small nonprofits and CBOs to apply. We do want to support new and emergent organizations with this funding. And then what will you need to submit for your application? So once you've gone through, determined if you're eligible, if you meet the minimum qualifications, we will need the following items from you. So we'll need all summary and application questions completed within Zoom Grants, and then also a list of documents, which you will be able to find in the document tab of Zoom Grants. So that will include a timeline, a budget, organizational financials, an org chart, staff resumes, site control, site plan, which is optional, and then site photos. And there is an extensive list of instructions for what each of these documents will actually look like, what we'll be specifically requesting, both in the RFP document itself, and then also within the document tab in Zoom Grants. So instructions are provided for each of these requests. So how to apply? Be sure to read and go through the entire RFP document in the Zoom Grants library prior to starting your application. You always want to make sure that you're eligible before you start. And applications will be submitted via Zoom Grants or via email at dchscontracts@kingcounty.gov. The Zoom Grants link to the RFP is provided here and can be found both on the Best Starts for Kids website and blog. And we really encourage folks to submit materials early and check Zoom Grants often to ensure that nothing is late and everything is delivered on time. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be having a little tutorial on what the Zoom Grants page looks like and what navigating through it looks like after my presentation is complete. And also something to consider when applying, technical assistance is available for applicants. And TA providers are folks that you can contact directly. Their information is found in Zoom Grants under the library tab. They can help you determine if you are eligible for funding, help you go ahead and work through the application, support and review editing, and attachment and document review. So once you've gone through the whole process of applying in Zoom Grants, once all applications are submitted, they will be reviewed by a panel of subject matter experts from both inside and outside of King County, and based on the following scoring criteria. So there will be a total of 170 points that projects will be scored on, and that will be split between several different areas. So we'll be scoring based on feasibility and scope, proposed budget, organizational experience, community served, and equity and social justice criteria. And this template will be available in the RFP document. And I also have a full scoring guide that helps folks navigate what we're really looking for within each subsection of this template. And that is available in the library section of Zoom Grants as well. So additional resources. The next info session is May 4th. This one will be recorded and put onto the Best Starts for Kids blog. Any and all questions that you may have can be submitted to the following email. We highly encourage you to reach out to technical assistance providers directly for support, and also to read through the glossary of terms for a list of relevant definitions for any things you may have questions on. So with that, we will go ahead and do a tutorial for Zoom Grants. And then following that, we will have a Q&A session where we can answer all of your questions. And if some questions do come up for you later, always feel free to send them to the email above, dchscontracts@kingcounty.gov. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Joanna can go ahead and give a brief tutorial on Zoom grants.
All right, thank you, Kat. I am about to walk through the application. As Kat just said, my name is Joanna Armstrong. I am the RFP lead for this program, and I use she, her pronouns. So if you reach out to the DCHS contracts inbox asking for help, I'm the one who will be responding. And for those of you who prefer to follow along, I put the link in the chat so you can just click and go directly there. And I am going to share my screen here and show you what the application looks like in Zoom Grants. So hopefully you can all see this screen. To begin, you do need to have a Zoom Grants account to start your application, but you don't need an account to actually view all of this. So this up here is where you'll log in with your email address and password. If you do not yet have an account, this can be kind of hard to see here. But where it says you need to be logged in to apply, you can just click here if you need to start a new account. So when you first come here, this is going to be the portal where you enter your application materials, and you'll see 2 rows of blue boxes. So this top row is information about the RFP, and this bottom row here is the actual application. So just walking you through some of these top rows here, you can show or hide if you don't want to look at it. So if you want to see an RFP overview, you can click that button. This will give you some overview, including communication, and what you'll need to be submitting. So if you want to check back in here to make sure you've submitted everything, this is a good place for you to look. This tab here is just who can apply, which Kat's already gone over these, but if you want to take a look again, it's our minimum qualifications, which is what will allow you to be eligible to receive funding, and then what our desired qualifications are. If you need application assistance, this is the little box you can check on to find out how to get that assistance. And Kat has referenced the library. This is where we'll hope you visit as often as you can. This has all of the documents that you'll need to review. So this right here is the full RFP document. Please make sure you read all of this to make sure you fully understand the program and what we're asking. And then each of the attachments can be found here as well. And if we ever need to amend anything or make any changes to the RFP, we'll post an amendment here. So please do check the library to make sure nothing else has been added. Every time we get questions that come in, we make note of those questions and we make note of the answers, and then we post them for everybody to see. So anybody who missed out on this info session will be able to access the recording, which we'll post in an amendment to the RFP here. And along with the slide deck, the recording, we will also include all of the questions and answers we've received to date so that everybody has access to the same information. So that's up here in the library. And if this is the link you would click on if you wanted to join the next info session that's coming up on May 4th. So that is the top row. The bottom row here is the actual application. So you'll start by filling out the summary tab, which is just basic information about your organization. And then we have one set of questions here under general questions. These are all unscored, and application questions here are the questions we actually score. So to answer the questions here when you're filling out the application, once you're logged in, you have a couple of options. You can either answer the question directly in this text box. You can type the answers in here, and there is no save button. The way Zoom Grants works is that once you type something in here, you just click anywhere else, and then you'll see in the middle of the screen a flashing sign that says saving, and that'll let you know that it saved it. So as you're typing, if you want to save your work as you go, just make sure you click outside that text box anywhere. So that's one option, is to answer directly into this text box. Another thing you can do if you'd prefer to answer in a Word document or OneNote or some other application, you can answer the question somewhere else and copy and paste the answers into this text box. One thing to note, though, is that Zoom Grants does not accept formatting very well. So if you have bold or bullet points or anything, please clear that formatting before pasting in here, or it might what you might see happen when you click outside the text box is the saving sign that will show up here will just get stuck. So if you see it get stuck, that means it's probably not accepting the formatting, and you'll have to click the refresh button and see if it's saved. So just be aware of that glitch that Zoom Grants has. And as Kat mentioned, please don't wait to the last minute. Please get your applications in as soon as you can. We have a 2 p.m. deadline, and the reason the deadline is in the middle of the day is so that you can either reach out to Zoom Grants or myself if you have any technical difficulties. We want to make sure that you all have support as you're submitting these. Zoom Grants does get harder and glitchier to work with closer to the deadline, because when a lot of people are on at once, it starts slowing down and getting a little sluggish. So that's another really good reason to not wait to the last minute. If you do end up having technical difficulties and it's getting close to the deadline of 2 p.m., don't risk a late application, because we may not be able to accept a late application out of fairness to everybody else. So please just email your application to the DCHS contracts inbox. If you at least email it to us, then we can count it as having been submitted on time, and then you can continue trying to get Zoom Grants to work for you. So just as a backup, if you have any doubts whatsoever about it submitting, please go ahead and email your application to dchscontracts@kingcounty.gov. And if you would like a confirmation once you've emailed your application, just let me know and I'll respond letting you know that it's confirmed. So once you fill in all of these questions, the next thing for you to do is documents. So we have a few documents. Some are required, and if it's required, it'll be highlighted here, and if not, it'll be blank. So these are optional. This, for example, this document is the exact same thing as the questions up here. So if it's easier for you to just download this set of questions and enter them in here and then upload back into Zoom Grants instead of filling out the questions here, you're welcome to do that if that's easier for you. If not, go ahead and just ignore this. The ones you'll want to pay attention to are anything highlighted required. It will not be considered a complete application unless we have these documents. So if there's a template, it'll say here, download template. So if you see download template, just click on that link. It'll download the template for you to complete, and then you can save and then click upload here to make sure it gets uploaded. So that was a lot I just went over, and I can't see any questions in the chat, so I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop sharing, and then we will check in with everybody here and see what questions have come in. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Joanna. I really appreciate it. So I see a couple of questions in the chat that I'm happy to answer as folks do consider what they may want to ask. I also see a hand raised. Bhavini, if you want to go ahead and go off mute, I'm happy to take your question.
Hey there, this is Bhavini. I'm a in-home family child care provider. I do not live in a low-income area, so that's the criteria is needed, but might be the other one is BIPOC. I might be eligible for that. So I will look into details on that first. My question is, there's a huge amount of leeway is available for the providers, but only 8 to 12 will get approved. So why that small number?
Yeah, that's a great
large amount of the money. So that's, and then I have another question. My entry to the home is having a foundation issue. I have grandparents couple of times at risk for fall, so I need to fix that, and that's the reason I want to apply for this grant. But it's not going to be 100,000 project for me to be eligible. You know, it's a small project, but again, if we are considering only the larger project for only 8 to 12 to approve, we are not eligible. That's what I'm thinking. I may be wrong. So can you explain me more on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for raising that. So the 8 to 12 number is simply a projection based on a request for letters of interest that we put out in November to December of last year. And the reason that we put that out was to gauge what the interest from the community was and see the potential range of awards that folks would be asking for. So the information that we got back from that request for letters of interest for this
I'm in a
program
meeting.
showed that folks were most often asking for a larger amount of money. And so based on that, we're projecting 8 to 12 projects. That does not mean that we will not be funding smaller projects or that that number may change. It's simply a frame of reference for folks to understand the need that we are seeing from the community and what we may be able to provide.
Kat, I just want to confirm with Bhavini that it sounded like she has an in-home childcare. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and so this funding will not actually be going towards at-home child care facilities. We are focusing on early learning facilities, community centers, recreation centers. And so this funding actually is not available for at-home care. Okay, so I'll go to the next question. Sorry, I'm seeing a couple more in the chat. Okay, so Elsie asks, why are staff resumes requested? Thanks for that question, Elsie. So to answer, staff resumes will help us just understand who will be doing the work and providing support, helps us understand background on staff members that are managing this grant money from the county, and helps us understand how your organization is well positioned to complete the work that is needed for your facility. Okay, I see a couple more questions. All right, so Kathy Copeland asks, question from Lake Washington Institute of Technology. This may be a question for the TA team, but we are a local public technical college whose childcare center is made up of portable buildings on our campus. If we are tearing down the portable structures to address critical repairs, can we apply for Priority 2 funds to support the new portable buildings? If not, can you give an estimate of when the Priority 1 RFP might be released? So Kathy, I would need maybe a little bit more information on what this looks like, if it is going to just be a full tear down demo and then new construction, in which case a fully new construction project would not be eligible. We're only funding renovation and rehabilitation. But to answer the second part of that question, Priority 1, which will focus on providing funds for new construction, is estimated to come out in Q4 of this year. And I see your hand is up.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you. And is it okay if I provide a little more information to the DCHS contracts? I suspect it's a Priority 1 application, but it is a repair question. So I wanted to do my due diligence. But,
yeah, absolutely. No, we're happy to answer that question via email.
Perfect. I will be in touch. Thank you so much. We appreciate the help.
Absolutely. All right, another question in the chat. Question from Queer the Land. We have a 12-bedroom multi-use property in Beacon Hill. The bottom floor is in need of renovation and is open for the community. This will be used as a community center, gathering space, art space, childcare, fitness room, etc. Do we qualify? A community center would qualify if you are completing critical health and safety repairs per the definition provided in the RFP. So again, it would be contingent on what type of work is being done on your facility. But yes, a community center is qualified.
Can I provide or context? Maybe not context, but just a clarifying question to that.
Sure.
Because in the RFP, it says a renovation, but renovation only if it is to repair something that is at the detriment of people's health.
Correct. So this funding round is funding priority 2 projects per the Best Starts for Kids implementation plan, and we'll only be funding critical health and safety repair in this round. So that will have to meet the definition that was outlined in the presentation earlier, and that is also available in the glossary section of the RFP document itself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple more questions. So Rosie asks, would applications for resurfacing a district sports field be eligible, or does the recreational facility need to be related to early learning childcare? If the resurfacing of the recreational facility sports field was a critical health and safety repair, meaning that it improves accessibility, prevents the chances of trip and fall, then it would be considered eligible, yes. Okay, a couple more. So 2 people are just asking if this grant concerns home childcare. And no, unfortunately, this we will not be funding at-home childcare with Best Starts for Kids capital program funding whatsoever. Okay, next question. I need Somali interpretation. If you have one available, otherwise I might just wait till one is available. So that is from Mohammed and Hinda. I would need to get back to you independently on that. There are translation services available, but I would have to get back on an individual basis there. So if you want to, yeah.
Sorry to interject. This is Joanna again. We do have technical assistance providers, some who are able to assist in language in Somali. So I can, if you want to reach out to me at DCHS contracts@kingcounty.gov, I can see if I can find a TA consultant who can provide assistance.
Thank you, Joanna. Okay, so that's the end of the written questions. If anyone else has any other questions, absolutely feel free to raise your hand or drop any further ones in the chat as well. I'll give folks a couple minutes just to sit and think if anything comes up for them. So I am not seeing any more questions in the chat. If folks do not have any further questions at this time, you are always welcome to go ahead and send them to the DCHS contracts inbox and we will get back to you. Otherwise, this recording will be available to folks shortly. Oh, I see one more question. I'm a provider for home child care. Do I need to apply? So yes, again, we will not be providing funding for home child care with this, with Best Starts capital program funds. Thank you for that question, Mohammed. So if there's nothing else, yes, feel free to send questions to the DCHS contracts inbox, and we will have another info session on May 4th. Really appreciate folks coming to the session today. Thank you for your time.